Thank you very much. First, I wanted to mention that this has been a great forum here. There's been a lot of very advanced use cases, a lot of great examples have been demonstrated there. I'm going to take this somewhat totally differently there. I'm going to provide a very, very simple presentation there, but it's for those, and I'd like to get a quick raise of hand, who are end users that are just starting or just kind of ramping up on their digital transformation there. Okay, because this presentation's for you here, but I'd like to get everyone's input there. So yeah, this is really, I'm going to be really speaking to, us as same as you guys there. We've just got going on this in the last little while there, and we want to really kind of show what we've been doing and some things to think about there. So I'm from ArcelorMittal Dofasco. ArcelorMittal is the world's largest steel company there. We're located in Canada. Over the last 10 years, the steel industry has had some various economic and trade challenges there, so we're late to the digitization game there. However, the last couple years, there's been a real ramp up in opportunities, and we've really been trying to take the challenge ahead of us there. So I'm one of the co-leads for our company there for the digital transformation and the solution there. So my agenda is really simple. I'm going to ask and try to answer, or at least have some open questions on 4 questions, and really get some insights what we're doing. But also I talked to a lot of other companies there over the last couple years as I've been learning. I've come to ARC and learned a lot of things from the analysts and especially the end users there. Various things that we've kind of learned here. This is my opportunity to kind of give back a little bit here of what I've learned there. And you'll see, what's digital transformation? You've heard a lot about that there, but I'll give it from the sense of what new companies are hearing there. The smart factory of the future. What is that all about? How do I get started? And then, especially on the strategy side, what does that look like? What's this roadmap? You hear a lot about those terms there. And what are these attributes that you need to consider there for your strategy going forward? So there's going to be some lots of questions. I'd just like to get your thoughts, especially when we go through the panel. Like I said, I'll speak to some of the things we've been challenged with. I'll speak to some of the things we've dealt with. But also I'm going to speak to what other companies have been saying there. The key thing I tend to hear from a lot of companies in a similar shape as myself early on in the last couple of years is that they see all this advanced technology, the vendors show all these great use cases and all that, and they look back and say, that doesn't look like my company at all, and I have no idea how I'm going to get there. So let me start on digital transformation. So you've seen lots of definitions, you've seen lots of descriptions there. I'm just showing you one. We have a very simple definition, and we've used from Boston Consulting Group a nice simple picture that shows the 9 technologies, digital technologies that we believe relate to Industry 4.0. The importance of this is that we've really tried to keep our messaging within our organization to really understand what is this there. Within the steel business, this is relatively new over the last, I said, couple years. I would say even in the last year, it's really starting to take legs there. But within my organization, I'm really just trying to explain. So people hear a little bit about big data. I try to explain a little bit about that. Autonomous robots is something that is prevalent. They're getting very advanced. So we talk a little bit about that. Nobody even heard of what a digital twin is there, so we give a little description there. And I just go through all these different technologies. I spend more time on things that relate to what we think in the next little while might be of value to our organization there. One in particular that you don't tend to see, horizontal, vertical, data integration in that. Much more interesting when you start looking at, how you're doing data, how you're looking at data, from the Purdue level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever model, to this new model of where everybody's seeing all the data in whatever form they want there. And that was very attractive and exciting within our focus there. So really this information was really my way of trying to communicate and do technical awareness. So one of the things that I found early on in this journey was that there is a lot of misunderstanding, no understanding about what this all is. They hear cool stuff out there, but they didn't know. So I've been on a 2-year journey of roadshow within my organization there. I'm up to 35 technical awareness presentations now. And really, I think anyone new into this has really got to start engaging the people and the organization and in different ways. So my presentations to our executive team, to my maintenance team, to my financial team, they're a little bit different there. There's similarities, but we talk about some of these key features there and what they might mean to them. One thing is I don't sell them anything. I just let them know, here's some things to think about there, and we'll see if there's some opportunities down the road. So then we talk about, there's a lot of talk, here, what's this smart factory? So a lot of things, we hear a lot about this there, and what I've noticed is that there's lots of people, lots of groups trying to define it there. Various models out there, and some of them look very, very different there, and I suspect they're going to be continuing to challenge this model as these things kind of prove themselves there. And I'm just going to show you two models that I saw here just to kind of give you a sense of these are what certain groups have defined as the factory of the future, and they do look different there. So the first one here is one that we got, so this was from the Center for International Manufacturing from Cambridge University and that there. This one was a bit more business, enterprise-centric there. So item 1 relates to more on the supplier side. 2 to 5 relate to things in the manufacturing. 6, the attribute relates to your customers. And then 7 to 10 are things that are really more enterprise-wide. And these are the different attributes that they say, if you do this, you're the smart factory of the future there. Okay, interesting. What Cambridge is doing, and they started this a couple years ago, is they're test piloting this model on, at the time, 50 small to medium-sized enterprises there to see, see what works, what doesn't work, and what can resonate within the different manufacturing community there. The second one is, I call it a bit more process-centric. So you'll see there's 15 components. You'll see a lot of things that relate to the manufacturing side there. So a much more in-depth suite that talks about things that maybe more of you resonate to there. A little bit on the supplier side and a little bit on the customer side there. But you can see a very different looking model. And I've seen other models there. There are many more out. A recent one I saw actually looked at the smart factory of the future. They said in 5 years it's going to look like this. In 10 years it's going to look like this. In 15 years it's going to look like this. So there's lots and lots of things out there. So kind of the message I have here, I use these in a very strategic way. I may show one or both, but I kind of try to highlight it to the group I'm talking to. If I'm talking to the maintenance organization, I may just cherry pick some of the smart maintenance features of this, not worrying about all the other things. Or if I'm talking to the financial, I'll cherry pick some of the maybe enterprise-wide or supply chain and all that there. But really, there's lots of concepts. My learning was that really need to focus on what really matters to you there. Don't worry about all these things. There's lots of stuff there that you may or may not get to for many, many years. But if there's a few things there, at least you're making your plant smarter. So think about it as an incremental improvement there. So how do I get started? So core to that, so everybody hears you need a strategy. And then you hear this term, strategy and roadmap of activities there. So this is something I came to ARC the last couple years, really learning from everybody there. What I heard is there's no standard playbook. So there's not like a one size fits all. Definitely, there's lots of consultants out there, lots of people that have their programs for doing it, and you can definitely engage them there. But I learned a lot from a lot of the end user customers here. I really felt that they had provided me some insights in that, and I always felt that working within my organization there, what are things that are important to me? What pieces do I need to learn? And if I need to engage in more depth, I can always consult with them there. But I really tried to understand things like, key concepts, guidelines, lessons learned. And a lot of this is, the things that I talked to ARC about with this Digital Transformation Council and that there, working with my peers to see what we can all do better there. So I came up with a bit of a very high-level framework concepts there. These are just things you can think about there. I think these are the key, there's 5 key components there. You're more than happy to work with whoever you want, but I always think you might want to think about these things first before you engage someone there. So I call it the simplistic digitization strategy framework there. So First part is, I call it opportunity ideation there. Really you gotta, and this is, I get this hammered into me from a lot of the end users as well as ARC there, is you really gotta understand, your lines of business, where are the opportunities, where's the challenges. It's all gotta come down to, where's the value proposition, and will some of those technologies, make sense for you there? The other key component in this is, who are your champions out there? I've seen different companies there, some good examples where they may have all the greatest technology, but there were really no champions and no one really drove it there, and it really took time and effort before it germinated enough. So don't think about blitzing thousands and thousands of ideas. What are your top ideas in each area there? And is there something that you've seen at this forum there that might resonate with you that's saying, geez, that aspect of technology X might be of value to our particular problem there. So that gives you the ideas and the opportunities, and this is an ongoing thing. Hello? Okay, this is what all your senior leadership team wants. Launch the value-driven activities there. So you've got some ideas there. How do I take all the enablers now? And we'll talk definitely about people, priority, process. You can also add resources, funding, strategic initiatives there that need to be addressed before moving with these particular initiatives there. So obviously you'll look at some kind of prioritization. You'll look at what's possible, where's the value driven there, and you're gonna have to really manage and launch your portfolio of activities there. So obviously this is the one everybody wants to get, because obviously the faster you can make this a profit center, the better you'll get senior leadership support and continue on. But one thing you cannot forget is you also have to launch learning-driven activities. These ones most likely will not pay anything other than you're gonna get some knowledge there. We work with universities, we work with our global research, we're looking at some partners, just specifically on what are we learning here. I know one of our sister facilities went through all those Industry 4.0 technologies, tried to look at a pilot for each one just to say, okay, what am I gonna learn? Is this something that I'm ready for? What would it take to even transition this into our organization? And also what's good on these learning-driven activities, fail fast if it's not gonna work and move on to something else. And if it fails, what have you learned and what do you need to do differently? Because you obviously started it because you felt there was some value there. Obviously there's that balance of value-driven, you gotta make some money out of this, and learning-driven, but you also gotta understand how are these all gonna be managed there. Key point that runs across all this is that you're gonna have to, unless you've got a nice modern, you're gonna have to do some type of improving your ITOT data infrastructure, your foundations in that there. And I had said I'm the co-lead for our company there. My other co-lead is our director of IT. So the IT and OT issue is not a problem with us there. We're joined to the hip on this, and it makes it a lot more easier for us to get things done here. Because we recognize, yes, we're over 100-year-old company here. We recognize that we've got some nice new things, we've got some somewhat new things, and we got some older things there. And we realize that with some of our early pilots there, we didn't have all the data that we needed in the form we needed there. So we're reassessing, we're already starting to launch a whole data strategy, and we're gonna utilize feedback from those early proof of concepts, but obviously you gotta plan and modernize against the needs of your portfolio. So many times it may take a long time to be able to move forward and really implement everything you would like to have the perfect IT/OT data infrastructure and cyber systems and that there. But you're gonna have to kind of look at, well, where is the value? Where am I gonna be doing activities there, especially those that can give me value? And let's try to make sure I can prioritize the infrastructure or the changes necessary, because there's investment in cost in people against that. And last and the most important, how am I preparing the organization there? So you've heard a lot about it there. I think it's one of the most important parts there. It's great that I heard for those that were at the executive panel today, I asked each one what was their biggest challenge there, and most of them had culture as one of the key challenges that they said there. So you've got to develop the change management plan as early as possible. And you're gonna have to get senior management, depending on, they're focused on the value, you're gonna have to focus on the people side and all that there. Best quote I heard last year at the ARC Forum is, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So it's something that resonated with that group, that through the hard knocks they recognized, and these were people that are further ahead than us. So I'm taking it that these things are important. And as we've launched we've developed a strategy, we've got a roadmap for the near term in that, we recognize the culture is going to be the big challenge there, and how are we going to manage it there. And the other part on the organization is, what are the new technological knowledge? What are the competencies and skills that we're going to need internally, and how are we going to start capturing it, all that there? Because there's going to have to be a balance there. You recognize, you saw from all the presentations today, everybody works with partners there, but what's the knowledge side that I need? What is the subject matter experts? What other knowledge and skills am I going to need in the digitization world there? So that's kind of the framework, and then kind of the learnings is, you've heard it from many people this week, keep your strategy simple, get working on the best possible applications across the organization that can quickly demonstrate value, or quickly you can learn things from there. I mean, you can see from our previous presentation, they've done a lot of pilots, they've learned and now are deploying there. And don't underestimate the change management there, because I've heard of some very interesting stories of how people in other industries, the change management didn't work and how it really stalled going forward there. So the last question is, and it's going to be made up a lot of more questions there, and hopefully some of them might resonate with you and we can talk about them at the panel. What are the key attributes that need to be considered in implementing the strategy in that? So the ones that I see: governance, communication, people, and both organization and competencies, third-party support, standardization, data infrastructure, and stability there. So for each of these attributes, I could talk a half hour on each, because these are a lot of the things that I've been working on in the last year I'm now going from, we're now going from learning and piloting. How do I start going into the real world and making these things all happen there? So I'll go through the questions. Some of them relate to our company and what I've gone through. Some of them I also took it from the prospects of what I've seen other companies in some of their challenges there. So it's a mixture. I just tried to get a little bit of an opportunity on both there. So governance there. How are senior management engaged here? So a lot of times when you're first started, senior management's heard about this, but they really aren't that engaged there. They usually assign somebody to look into it. What is it all about? When do you need to get them engaged? Experts have said, the earlier the better. But how is their engagement there? How is their engagement going to be with the people side there? So early on in our journey, our senior management said, could you learn about this and see what happens? So they let us go do a lot of work. And then now we've got them more engaged there. But it was also a journey for them as well as a journey for others there. They needed to understand. They've got a lot of things on their plate trying to understand, and what does this new component mean to them? So we've got some good engagement now. You're going to have to think about your senior leadership there. How does this strategy align to the corporate business plan and strategy, people strategy, and current funding and resource commitment? So you all can basically say, and I heard it from somebody earlier, our guys are already too busy or already overcommitted, and we got so many projects. It goes on and on and on there. So how does your strategy align? How is the major leadership team looking at this as part of the corporate business plan? Is it part of it? Is it all of it? Is it what there? You're going to really have to think about it there. We're definitely getting it more engaged and more involved there. But yeah, would I like more funding and more resources towards this? It's a balance with everything else there, and you're going to have to think about that. And then I added the question on multi-facility, because a lot of us are involved in multiple facilities, and myself, I got worldwide sister plants there. What's the corporate consideration taken into account? Planning and coordinating there. What I'm doing might be different what others are doing. How can we share and learn, and how might that impact what I'm doing there? We can't do things totally independently there. We have to think about what's that governance model there. What things are going to be standards globally, what things might be standards regionally. We have to kind of think about how we're governing all that. Communication. What are those efficient, effective ways to engage the broader organization? So you've got key decision makers. I mean, there's out in the business, that line of business there. How do you engage with them? How do you communicate with them? What's your senior leadership communication? The other interesting one is long career employees that see this as a bit threatening. They had a lot of knowledge, they did very well. Now something's there that looks like it could be a challenge to their superiority of knowledge in that area there. So you've got to look at all the different communications and what does it mean there. I think I personally tried to make sure I worked with each of those different areas and spoke to it in a way that provided value and support. I think what I found important was continue the message, keep doing it, keep updating them, keep showing the value that's happening out there so that, it starts socializing it with them there. So people become less threatened. They understand it. Maybe this is a good tool that could help me. It could take some work off my plate. And how do we share and collaborate effectively across many sister facilities there? So, you get some good practices there or somebody creates something. How do you make sure that the global group or, hears about that as something that could be of value to you? So those are just some things you need to consider. My favorite topic on people side there, the ITOT. I find it interesting how that is still a challenge within these process industries and that. When it comes to digitization, you're going to just have to work together and get over with it there. I think the easiest way is just get ITOT under one VP or something and it'll all start to work there. You're going to have to be joined at the hip. And in our organization, like I said, my co-lead is the director of IT. And it just works really well to look at her strengths and my strengths and how can we help in setting this path there. How do we best prioritize the roadmap? So it relates a little bit to that organizational readiness there. So based on your roadmap, this is the people side. So I got a solution, it may or may not have value. Is the organization ready? How do I train them? Are they excited? Is there a champion? All the different things you have to think about that may help define your roadmap in terms of the order, the priority, and where the subject matter expertise help and the end user help that's going to be there necessary. Any best practices that should be part of the core? So I've heard a little bit about, who should be part of core teams. Then there might be the extended support team, the steering committee. There's different organizational alignment here. Some groups have very well-defined, mature digital strategy type organizations. For us newer ones there, we're still finding our way there. We've just recently announced a bit of a chief digital officer type role there that's going to help steer and move this quicker there. And so that's definitely going to be of value to myself and my co-lead there. And then the other interesting question I hear a lot is this: what is this chief digital officer? What does it really do? Is it important? Is it not important? What does it really mean? Don't really know there. So I see a lot of these things out there, and it's interesting, something that needs to be thought through on. This comes down to the organization there. If you're going to really need to drive and change behaviors and really assign the culture, maybe someone in a senior type more role there can really help bridge between the executive team and all the leadership teams and the various lines of business that need to deal with this there. Technical competencies there. So this is really interesting one here. So I see, everybody working well with partners, and I think that's great. We hear a lot about, the kind of skills and competencies, but, a lot of times, I hear from a lot of people is that, geez, I really think it'd be more important if I got some of those kind of technical skills in-house there. I want to match my subject matter experts, my sharp young engineers. Maybe I just need to train them more or send them back to school for some of this knowledge. So what should we be learning internally versus what is best sourced externally? And if you do source externally, is this for a short period of time, a long period of time there? Because it's really interesting to understand, what skills do you really need as you mature along this journey there? And how much advanced knowledge is really needed. Is it what, how big, how small? Those are things we're still trying to figure out a little bit in our facility there. But I know other companies that basically said, we're never going to be able to hire one of these very expensive data scientists. They're not interested in working for us. And I'm even worried that they come in, they're going to just cause more problems there because they don't understand our business. I really want our guys to learn those kind of skills there. That's what I heard from one company there. So you're going to have to think about those competency sides there and what that means to you there as you move along there. And then how do you effectively train with those kind of skills and knowledges there? Is your local universities capable? Is there some partners that can help you along with this there, or provide some of these kind of skills as mentoring for your folks there? And kind of lead it off as, do we really need a data scientist there? You know, can our partners just look after that? Do I really need to bring one in? And what's the most effective way of utilizing that? And question I also hear is, what exactly does a data scientist do there? You know, there's this unknown, very expensive, kind of like this complex person that has all these skills that's supposed to do all that stuff I showed you, but what really do they know, and what skills are they bringing to my organization there? And how are they going to work? Because just about everybody, including myself, says you got to pair some of the technology experts with our subject matter experts to work properly in this kind of environment there. So just giving somebody the data and coming out, you know, that's going to be a challenge there. You're going to have to work together there. So third-party support. So for all our third parties in here, so you saw the Saudi Aramco has done a good job working on different partner strategies, but they've been doing this a long time. What if you're just getting started? Who is the right partner? So I'll use the example of advanced analytics, AI, and machine learning. So ARC last year told me that in North America, there's over 850 companies that do advanced data analytics, big data. You know, they'll ingest all your data, they'll do machine learning AI, and they'll show your data in whatever way or form integrated in your system there. So how do you choose from all that? What makes sense? What are the criteria you have to think about there? What makes sense for your line of business? There's lots of different companies, lots of great companies out there, but you know, there's some very large ones there, and there's some very small niche ones that have some very specific, you know. And as you see at this forum, you know, we've got electrical companies, automation companies, computer companies, we even got ERP companies that are all getting in this space here. Everybody has narrowed in that this is where lots of money is going to happen there. So how does someone starting out in this business, in this journey, really choose the right ones there? Is there some criteria? So we're still working on that. But this is a challenge. I talk to all the other companies that are in the same boat as myself. They're trying to really figure it out there. Because a lot of us have lots of different things in our, it's not like we have one nice automation system. We have lots of different types there, and we could use any of them. Standardization. So I keep hearing a lot that, you know, we like standards in our business and all that, and all the experts keep saying, you know, the standards, the maturity of these technologies to establish appropriate industry standards, it's still a bit too early there. And there's going to be changes, and you just have to, you know, go with the flow kind of thing there. Do the best you can, but recognize things are going to change. It's just too early in this process there. So how would I reuse? So one of the things we really look at within my organization, if we come up with some great solution, what's the way that, you know, we may be able to reuse it there, especially, you know, if we're picking a specific partner or a specific technology, how can I make sure it's as reusable as possible there? If you're in that same boat, you're also going to have to think about that reusability capability there, and what are standards you're going to impose to make it as easy to replicate there. Because one of the things I hear from a lot of good companies is they find a real gem of an application, they replicate it across more of the similar apps or across, and they just keep multiplying the value, and it's just one of those, you're just mining gold when you have something like that there. So you want to make sure whatever you do, you think about that. Data infrastructure. So here's one all of us typically have is best approach, you're modernizing or doing the right things on your ITOT, but you're still able to implement these valuable solutions in the current environment. So you're obviously, you know, it's going to take a while to maybe give you the perfect Hadoop database, data lake, data ocean, whatever, to give you everything you want, but you still got to make money, you still got to work on what you got there. How do you manage, and what are the things you do, and how do you prioritize? Our focus is obviously we're going to prioritize on the areas that the roadmap tell us to, and we're going to look at continually improving, and as we improve, other opportunities will make it easier as we modernize. But everyone's going to have to think about that. And my last is solution sustainability. So this is one you don't tend to hear as much about there, because these are just models. It's like any good automation engineer, there's a whole total cost of ownership for an automation application. And the model is just one part of it there. So how do we effectively maintain and support these new solutions over the long term? We monitor the new applications, they're providing the correct, like how do we know that these new solutions are still good over time? Like, we know our processes may drift or shift or whatever. We have that understanding. How do these technologies, how do we know if they're still good? Or how do we know we have to tune them? Or how would we tune them there? And can the third parties effectively maintain them 24/7 long term? Or do we have to do it? Or is it a partnership? All the things you have to consider there. Also, everybody in different kind of organizations have good models already. How do these models might work with these new models? You know, is there a sustainability piece long term, marrying first principle models with some of these new big data analytic models? Is there a way to look at a hybrid system there, and how might that work? How might that be able to maintain there? So that's kind of left you with lots of questions, things to think about there. Thank you very much.